Hello everyone, welcome back to the brutal capitalist dictatorship of Kuala Lumpur. Another run and talk video for you people. Do you like my new haircut, by the way? Yes, I decided I didn't want to be a degenerate anymore, according to Lee Kuan Yew standards, so I subjected myself to my very own Operation Snip Snip in order to basically cure myself of hippie degeneracy. Of course, now my hair has been snipped off. I feel like a new man, and not in a good way. I feel like Samson after getting his hair cut off. It's emasculating indeed. But you know, masculine pride is not everything in life. But it seems that there's a lot of masculine pride going on in the debate or between the Sekolah Kebangsaan and the vernacular school fanatics. So, without further ado, let's begin. Well, in case you've been living under a rock, the Malaysian Madani government, the Pakatan Harapan government, the Party of Hope, or hopelessness, however you want to call it, has been threatening to institute new citizenship laws, which means that even children, who are stateless, may find it impossible to gain Malaysian citizenship. The Pakatan Harapan is now revealing their true fascist colors, but as I've always said, that those guys were only a stopgap measure. They were never going to be the party that is the salvation of Malaysia, because ultimately both Harapan and Perikatan Nasional are servants of capital, like I mentioned. Neither party is going to rescue our country. But there's another culture war going on between both the government school defenders and the Chinese vernacular school defenders as well. And in my last video, I spoke about this culture war. Now, in a nutshell, basically, the ardent government school fanatics are saying that vernacular schools are a barrier to unity because they want to live, or they want to have a separate sphere of education from the rest of Malaysia. But it's funny because they don't seem to want to target private schools or international schools, because many of these right-wing Malay politicians who live in places like Kenny Hills or Damansara Heights also send their children to international schools. So they can't criticize international schools, because that would be shooting themselves in the foot. And the vernacular school defenders, well, they're not much better either. They basically assert their superiority complex to the government school by saying, well, we get much better results than you people. So until you can produce results like ours, shut the fuck up and let us have our own schools. Of course, vernacular schools have been around well over 100 years. They are literally older than Malaysia itself. Like I said, Kuan Cheng was established in 1908. Chonghua was established in 1919. So they've had far more time than the government schools to furnish their craft, to refine their craft. And like I said in my previous video, you can't expect government schools to measure up to the level of vernacular schools, because not only are the teachers of vernacular schools overburdened, being stretched to their maximum capacity with 50 students per class. Well, the fact is, vernacular schools have been in the business much longer than government schools. So you can't say that it is because of some cultural inferiority that government schools do not perform as well. But, if you take the top government schools in Malaysia, like Sri Aman, for example, and you compare them with the least well-funded vernacular schools, I imagine you could see that the government schools actually outperform the vernacular schools. So when people talk about vernacular schools being the elite cream of the crop students, they're usually referring to schools like Chonghua or Sunjin or Kuan Cheng, which are the top schools in KL. They're like the Eton Boys School of the Chinese Malaysian community. I myself am not a vernacular school graduate. So when I get involved in this culture war and I criticize the problematic aspects of vernacular schools, well, there's always a risk that I get accused of being a race traitor or a dirty banana. And I have gotten some nasty comments by the most ultra sort of Chinese Malaysians as well as Asian Americans. So I've chosen to stay out of this debate for the past year. But you know, I figure we can't have people at each other's throats all the time if we're gonna have an integrated and united Malaysia. At some point, we are all gonna have to come to the table and negotiate and overcome our differences and try to find common ground. Right? You can call me a filthy banana, it's fine, I don't care. I care more about the future of the children of Malaysia than I care about your opinion about me, Chinese ultra. But look, I would like to make a proposal to all of you zealots in both the vernacular school side and the Kebangsaan school side. Here's my proposal. I propose that you people who are fighting like school children, you know, actually get together at the negotiating table and talk like civilized human beings. Yes. I volunteer to be the middleman of your rundingan. Having spent my first few years of primary school in a Kebangsaan school, the government school, and having taught at vernacular schools for 2 years to try and immerse myself and learn a bit of Chinese, I think I'm qualified to serve as an unbiased voice in this issue. I think my critique on vernacular schools was very fair. I talked about the ferociously dedicated teachers, you know, the high academic standards, and basically it's a decent model to follow. It has its own problems, like the rote learning, the lack of free thought and intellectual discourse, and the lack of basically it does try to hold debates from time to time, but basically there's not enough free thought in most Malaysian schools. But you know, my criticisms are in good faith, and I think I'm willing to serve as the arbiter in the peace talks between the Kebangsaan school defenders and the vernacular school defenders. Yes, we shall host a tea party with no parangs allowed. Of course, you're not allowed to bring any parangs. And of course, the tea is for drinking, not for throwing at each other. But I believe that humanity has evolved to the extent that we can actually talk out our differences and try to find common ground rather than insulting and name-calling each other. It's fine if you call me a dirty banana, it's fine. But I'm hoping that we can actually try and bring people with vastly different points of view together to the table of negotiation and to try and seek common ground. Yes. 哎呀，为什么我们必须斗争啊？你们同意不同意？很麻烦，如果我们马来西亚人不可以同意 必须每天都正啊！你说你对我对不对啊？所以我看来我们都可以参加平安的 agreement 啊，我们可以参加平安的 agreement， 要 how to say make friends in Chinese， become 朋友 ，yes， 我们可以become 朋友啊。Kenapa kita perlu seringkali bertengkar? Banyak bersusah payah ke atas rakyat Malaysia. Kau semua setuju tak? Tapi jika kita boleh ada rundingan di antara orang-orang yang tidak suka di antara satu sama lain, tidak boleh macam mana nak kata get along, memang kita boleh sampai ke persetujuan. Dan saya harap bahawa kita akan sampai ke persetujuan yang akan membawa faedah ke kaum Cina dan kaum India, kaum Melayu dan juga kaum-kaum minoriti lain. Kita tidak seharusnya bergaduh di antara satu sama lain kerana kita semua adalah orang Malaysia. Setuju tak? Jadi, saya volunteer, macam mana nak cakap volunteer, untuk menjadi orang tengah dalam rundingan di antara SKJC dan SK punya orang. Saya harap kita boleh sampai ke persetujuan yang akan membawa faedah kepada setiap pasukan yang terlibat. Kerana budaya kita bukanlah budaya barat. Tahu tak, budaya cowboy yang sering kali melibati keganasan. Kita bukanlah macam orang barat. Kita memang adalah orang Asia. Dan sudah tentu orang Asia sering kali cari rundingan. Orang yang tidak bersefahaman di antara satu sama lain di Asia akan datang ke meja rundingan dan berunding. Inilah budaya kita. Bukanlah budaya ganas orang barat. Itu kan. So, inilah budaya bertolak ansur kita orang Malaysia yang haruslah dicontohi. Ingat tak, bila Tunku Abdul Rahman dan Chin Peng berunding di Baling, mereka tidak bertengkar, tidak guna perkataan kasar. Mereka datang seperti gentleman untuk bertolak ansur dan cari persetujuan. Inilah cara yang kita harus guna. Budaya bertolak ansur orang Asia bukanlah budaya ganas Amerika Syarikat yang seringkali menggunakan keganasan untuk melaksanakan tujuan mereka. Ini bukan budaya kita. But to end my video, I just want to say that the race ultras, whether that be the race ultras of the Chinese vernacular school, the ones who have been condemning me as a filthy banana, or the race ultras of the Malay Kebangsaan school, they do not speak on behalf of all members of the community, even though they have self-appointed themselves as generals in this culture war. Because most Chinese, most Malays, and most Indians in this country are not interested in fighting this culture war. They're not interested in asserting any kind of superiority over one another. They're interested in their children getting an education and becoming well-informed citizens. They're not interested in fighting your culture war and basically forming race tribalism or cultural tribalism. They're not interested. So reactionaries of either race whether that be Bumiputra reactionaries or Chinese Malaysian vernacular school reactionaries, don't you drag people of either community into your culture war. They are not interested in it. And I am not interested in being part of your culture war either. If your culture war just involves dominating the other, as opposed to, seeking mediation and trying to respect each other's differences while at the same time finding a compromise. So as I said, I volunteer to be the middleman of your peace talks. And you know where to find me on Twitter if you need me as your middleman. Just make sure that you are civilized at the peace talks. Thank you. Have a good day.